over 80,000 explicit photos, more than 5,600 short videos. But these weren't stolen snapshots of romance between lovers or intimate moments of a married couple. No, every single file documented secret encounters inside luxury hotels and private apartments. On one side were men cloaked in gleaming saffron robes, symbols of purity and devotion to millions of followers. On the other side, always the same woman, beautiful, fragile, and utterly dangerous. Few could have imagined the truth. She was the mastermind behind a scandal that would shake the very foundations of Thai Buddhism. Her name was Willowan Masawat, though in the underground circles, everyone called her Golf. At just 35 years old, she single-handedly dragged at least 15 highly respected monks down from their sacred pedestals in less than 3 years. She never used knives, never carried guns. Her weapons were far simpler: whispered seduction, calculated patience, and a cold little cell phone camera. While the faithful knelt and offered their life savings at temple altars, never questioning where their donations went, the money flowed directly into Abbott's accounts, then onto Gulf's credit cards, before vanishing into the bottomless pit of online gambling. A woman who spoke in the language of prayer but lived like a predator. How did she manage to break the vows of men who had devoted decades to spiritual discipline? When desire, faith, and money collide, human weakness reveals itself in the most fragile form. Was G a greedy serpent slithering through the temple gates? Or was she simply the knife, dirty and sharp, slicing open a door that had been rotten for years behind the golden facade of Thai Buddhism? Born in 1990 to an ordinary family in Thailand, G's early life had nothing to do with wealth or power. No influential relatives, no privileged education. She worked odd jobs from a young age, yet her pockets were always empty. But deep inside her, the craving for beauty, money, and luxury grew like a seed waiting to sprout. She was clever, quick with words, and knew exactly how to make men remember her. Her misfortune, or perhaps her brilliance, was in discovering a hidden gold mine few dared to touch: the temples. In Thailand, monks are not only revered, but also control staggering amounts of money. Reports suggest that temples across the country hold over 410 billion baht in deposits. These funds were managed almost exclusively by abbots with little oversight. For Golf, desperate to change her life, it was the perfect vault with no lock. But how could an ordinary woman get close to untouchable monks, constantly surrounded by loyal disciples? Golf knew brute force wouldn't work. She needed a mask, a perfect persona, and so she created a new identity from scratch. On social media, she played the part of a devout, elegant woman of wealth. One day, she posted photos praying with tears in her eyes at a famous temple. The next, she uploaded handwritten scriptures captioned with lines like, "Thank you, Master. My soul is cleansed." Soon after, pictures of vegan meals she personally prepared for the monks. Every word, every image whispered the same message: I am pious, I am generous, I am one of you. To make the act believable, Golf spent recklessly maxing out credit cards, taking loans, renting luxury handbags and cars, dining at high-end restaurants just for a photo. Like an actress rehearsing for her greatest role, she staged her life as an offering to her targets, and it worked. Her crafted identity opened doors. She searched for monks and abbots online, reaching out with carefully written private messages. The entry line was always the same: humble yet worshipful. "Master, I've been plagued by nightmares. Listening to your sermons has brought me peace. May I ask you a few questions? Which monk could turn down such devotion?" From there, Golf played the long game. She never rushed. Day after day, she checked in like clockwork, praising their wisdom, sending small offerings, even homemade sweets to the temple. The attention was intoxicating. For men who had lived in monotonous routine, surrounded by worship but not intimacy, her charm was irresistible. One by one, they fell. After months, sometimes even a full year of patient maneuvering, G knew the time was right. She began to pull her online conversations into the real world. The first invitation sounded perfectly innocent. Master, I have some errands near the temple. Could I bring you tea? I would love to hear your teachings in person. At first, the monks were tense, arriving with one or two disciples in tow, but G was disciplined. She played the part of the devout follower flawlessly, her words steeped in Buddhist philosophy, her behavior respectful, never once crossing the line. Over time, the tension dissolved. After a few visits, the monks began to trust her. After all, who could resist the company of a woman who seemed pure, pious, and endlessly generous? She drove luxury cars, donated freely, and spoke with reverence. To a temple in need, Golf was not just a disciple, she was a blessing. And so she opened her golden road to power and wealth, one careful step at a time. When meetings shifted from tea shops near temples to private rooms in discreet cafes, the predator's game entered its second act. Golf began targeting monks of influence and reputation. One of the first was Frap Wura Pamak, the abbot of Watriot's Burawian in Bangkok, a respected figure whose sermons drew crowds. He became the opening name in what would explode into one of the most shocking scandals in Thai Buddhism. Perhaps overconfident in his discipline, or simply convinced after a year of watching Golf, he agreed to meet her alone. That was all she needed. Once face to face, G dropped the scripture talk. She confided, Master, my family keeps pressuring me to marry, but in my heart, there is only Buddha. I don't know what to do. What sounded like a plea for guidance was in reality a calculated shift, from disciple to confidant, from spiritual to personal. During conversation, her hand would accidentally brush against his, then recoil quickly. Oh, I'm so sorry, Master. I was disrespectful, every move rehearsed, every word designed to draw him further into her net. For monks who had lived in celibacy for decades, isolated from the presence of women, the effect was devastating. Later, Frothwater Pamak admitted to police. I knew it was wrong. But the way she looked at me, the admiration, the dependence, suddenly made me feel important. Then Golf played her ace. One day, she arrived at the temple gates in a brand new Toyota Alfred. She pressed the keys into the abbot's hand. You travel often for teachings. This car is spacious and comfortable. Consider it my offering to you and the temple. That gift shattered the last wall of resistance. By accepting it, he silently acknowledged their relationship had crossed a line from spiritual offerings to material bribes, and once that boundary was broken, there was no going back. From there, G's hunting grounds expanded. Her phone contacts grew into a catalog of abbots and temples, each carefully classified. She became a master of time management, rotating her schedule like a socialite monk handler. With abbots who controlled temple finances, she offered luxury cars and designer watches, feeding their vanity. In one case, a Hermes handbag she donated was later recorded in temple books as offerings for candles before the Buddha. With younger monks, lonely and vulnerable, she became a confidant, joining them for golf outings or fine dining, expenses later disguised as landscaping repairs. But the deadliest trap awaited in private. When intimacy grew, Golf would say, "My home is quiet. Let's continue our Buddhist discussion there." Inside her apartment, hidden phone cameras were already in place, facing sofas near bedsides. Once the lights dimmed and the atmosphere turned soft, she would suddenly embrace her target or cross the line even further. The monks, torn between restraint and temptation, half resisting, half yielding, were caught on film in crystal clarity. Moments that seemed like proof of affection, one second became weapons of extortion the next. Her first demands were modest. Master, I'm in a little trouble lately. Could you lend me 50,000 baht? If the monk hesitated, a photo of them in an embrace would arrive, followed by, if you can't help, perhaps the elder council of the temple should see this. The tactic, never failed. For men who valued reputation more than life itself, exposure meant ruin, not only for their careers, but for their temples. The only choice was silence and payment. But the nightmare was only beginning. Golf's greatest obsession wasn't wealth. It was online gambling. Every bot she squeezed from the monks went straight into the endless void of digital casinos. When Golf won money at online casinos, she spent it like water, lavishing gifts, scouting for the next temple, the next monk. But when she lost, her demands doubled overnight. What began as requests for a few thousand baht ballooned into hundreds of thousands, even millions. At Watsuji Taram in Ayutthaya, the 67-year-old abbot transferred Golf a staggering 13 million baht in just a few months straight from the temple's accounts. He knew it was embezzlement. He knew he was destroying the trust of his disciples. But when Ji whispered her threats, "Pay me, or I'll expose you," he saw no choice but to obey. Step by step, sliding into the abyss. Ji's greed and the monk's fear created a deadly spiral. The more she demanded, the darker her methods became. She even fabricated stories of secret children fathered by monks, blackmailing them with lifelong child support. To the monks trapped in her web, there was no escape. Like meat laid on the butcher's block, they could only wait for her to carve away pieces of their lives. The harder they struggled, the tighter her net became. Among those ensnared, the most prominent name was still Frapip Weta Pomach, the first monk she had targeted. Many believed his spiritual discipline made him untouchable. For over a year, he resisted. But Ji's patience was relentless. She poured money into the temple, donating statues, financing renovations, making herself appear as nothing more than a wealthy, devout patron. Her generosity was so convincing that even Frapep believed this woman is different. She truly loves the Dharma. And once the ice broke, everything unraveled. From private talks on Buddhism to visits inside her luxury apartment, the respected abbot was eventually filmed, naked and vulnerable, just like the rest. But what truly drove him over the edge wasn't shame. It was Golf's escalating madness. Her gambling losses spiraled. Petty blackmail was no longer enough. She needed a fortune. One early morning, Frotha's phone buzzed. The message shattered him like a bolt of lightning. Ji claimed she had borne his child. Attached was a photo of a baby, later proven to be a random picture stolen from the internet. Her demand, 7.68 million baht, about $327,000, as 20 years of child support. And just in case he hesitated, she added high-resolution photos of them together in bed. The meaning was clear. This is blackmail. That number, 7.68 million, fell like a hammer. Froth knew he couldn't withdraw such an amount. Not without exposing himself, not even if he looted the temple's treasury. Worse, he finally understood. Ji wasn't simply greedy, she was an addict. Gambling had consumed her, and no sum would ever be enough. For days, he couldn't sleep. Staring at the saffron robe he had worn for decades for the first time, he felt its crushing weight. On one side, public disgrace, prison, ruin. On the other, endless blackmail. He was cornered with no escape. Finally, he made a choice no one expected. He would abandon it all. The robe, the temple, the life of an abbot. He would run. In late June 2025, under cover of night, Frotha shed the golden robe that once symbolized his honor. Dressed as a common man, he slipped out of the temple unnoticed and fled across the border into Laos. He thought flight would set him free, but he was wrong. A famous monk suddenly renouncing his vows and vanishing. It was national scandal. The temple reported him missing, and Thai police immediately launched an investigation. Phone records and bank transfers exposed the truth. A deep financial entanglement with a woman named G. Police tracked the money trail straight to her luxury apartment. When officers stormed inside, G was still defiant, thinking it was just another monk cracking under pressure. She never realized Frotha's disappearance had already blown her empire wide open. Inside her home, police seized 5 smartphones loaded with damning evidence. Golf's reign was over. The 80,000 photos and 5,600 videos she once wielded as weapons of extortion now became the nails sealing her coffin. News of her arrest detonated across Thailand like a bomb. As investigators revealed more, the nation recoiled in disbelief. How could one ordinary woman bring the Buddhist establishment to its knees? The truth was chilling. In just 3 years, her bank accounts had moved 385 million baht, almost all of it lost to online gambling. At the time of her arrest, she had only 8,000 baht left. Beyond the phones, police uncovered over a dozen saffron robes from different monks, souvenirs of her conquest. On her computer, folders neatly organized by temple and monk's name, notes describing each victim's weaknesses, finances, fears. It was a predator's playbook. And as the scandal erupted, the monks fell one by one. On July 9, 2025, a date Thai social media now calls the day Buddhism collapsed. 6 senior monks implicated in the case publicly renounced their vows, stripping off the robes they had worn for decades. What began as whispers in private rooms ended as an earthquake that rocked an entire nation. Inside temple meditation rooms, police uncovered stacks of cash hidden in drawers and even wigs that monks allegedly used to disguise themselves when sneaking out to indulge. In the end, of the 15 senior monks confirmed to have ties with golf, 8 were expelled from the SA for gross violations of monastic law and embezzlement, then handed directly over to prosecutors. The rest were forced to disrobe, fading into quiet exile. Among them was a 62-year-old monk once slated for promotion to a prestigious position. Because of his entanglement with golf, a lifetime of spiritual discipline and his future collapsed in an instant. Witnesses said he wept uncontrollably, whispering only one line over and over: "My whole life destroyed in a single step." As for golf, prosecutors piled on charges: collusion and embezzlement, money laundering, illicit enrichment. Ahead of her stood the full weight of Thai law. But the verdict wasn't the only drama. Thai society itself split wide open. To older devotees, Ji was a demonic temptress who had desecrated the sacred order. They marched in the streets carrying banners, demanding harsh punishment and a cleansing of the faith. Some went so far as to burn saffron robes in public, raging against the fallen monks. Donations to major temples plummeted by more than 30%. Incense smoke thinning at shrines once packed with worshippers. Online, however, the tone was radically different. Among younger Thai, golf was ironically hailed as a crusader against temple corruption. On social media, the hashtag #TheMonkHunter exploded, racking up over 100 million views. One viral comment cut especially deep. "Without her, who would know our offerings were funding mistresses and luxury cars for men hiding behind holy robes?" To many, Ji was guilty, but the hypocrites she exposed were far worse. The scandal left the nation polarized. On one side stood those defending traditional faith. On the other, rising anger at unchecked corruption within religious institutions. Ji's extreme actions in their eyes simply ripped away a golden curtain that had long hidden rot beneath the saffron cloth. The uproar forced the Thai government and the Supreme Sangha Council to act. They launched nationwide audits of temple finances, imposed emergency regulations to limit the personal accounts of monks, and even deployed AI monitoring systems to track temple funds. The fallout was more than a criminal case. It was a reckoning for a religion, for a country, and for millions who suddenly questioned whether their faith had been betrayed from the inside.